Now, you might not know this, but Spyro the Dragon was my favorite game. Okay, I get it. I went a little overboard with that joke. Anyway, let's get that off the screen now. Okay, yep, there we go. Anyway, Spyro the Dragon was a little PlayStation platformer that was simple. In fact, it was very simple. In many places it lacked in variety, and it was very, very easy. These were problems that could be remedied by the time a sequel came along. Does Spyro 2 rise proudly over Spyro 1, or is it going to be another Jak 2? Let's dive in and find out. Cue the equally impressive but also brand new intro created by Pat Strikes Back.
I am the Stimpyland, traveling into parts unknown. Now come with me. Join me on my journey to do things. Away I go!
Hello everyone, TheStimpyLand here, back for another review. Today, we're taking a look at Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage. Keep in mind guys, Spyro the Dragon was my favorite, and favorite is not synonymous with best. Spyro 1 may have been my favorite of the original trilogy, but Spyro 2 is definitely the best. Spyro 2 takes place not in the Dragon Realms, but instead in the world of Avalar, and we are greeted by three... named Allura, Hunter, and the Professor. The three of them are testing a new super portal, and everything is going great until they accidentally teleport in three mysterious-looking characters, who are also the game's main antagonists. There's Crush, a blue Ripto carrying a club, Gulp, a green Ripto with a jetpack, and a little midget Ripto named, you guessed it, Ripto. Upon entering this new world, Ripto decides that he will take over all of Avalar, using the energy from the orbs, and rename it Riptonia. To prevent Ripto from taking over Avalar, Allura had her friend Zoe, a fairy, get her and all of her fairy friends to spread the orbs all over Avalar. So a race is started between and Ripto, to see who could collect all the orbs first. It seemed that all hope was lost, as Ripto would be the obvious winner. Until Allura and the Professor came up with a brilliant idea. Meanwhile, we find ourselves back in the Dragon Realms alongside Spyro and Sparx, who have had nothing to do since their last battle with Nasty Nork. Spyro and Sparx are bored, so they want to go on vacation. Conveniently enough for them, they see a portal to Dragon Shores, and rush in faster than you can say,
"The special ed teacher is retarded!"
We return to Avalar, now in the world of Glimmer, to see that the Professor teleported Spyro into Avalar to help them get the orbs before Ripto. Already, this game is looking much better. First off, we have an actually interesting story this time around, which is integrated into the game much better than before. The voice acting is also improved as well, since we, 1, finally get a female voice in a Spyro game, and 2, we have Tom Kenny voicing Spyro now, who is also the voice of SpongeBob, so that's pretty damn cool.
You bet!
Now we get to start playing, and holy shit! The controls are really good. Spyro 1 had some excellent controls. Those controls could have been copied into this game, and I honestly wouldn't have been that upset. But Spyro 2 said nope, and gave us brand new controls, and believe me when I say that they are extremely tight. Spyro moves much more satisfyingly than before. Every movement feels so sharp and precise, and the game allows for some extreme accuracy. There's never a death in this game that I felt could be attributed to the controls. They are just so dead on. Spyro can now also jump while charging, and this really helps. Yes, Spyro could jump during a charge in Spyro 1, but not nearly high enough. Spyro can now jump much higher during charges than before, allowing him to ease through the platforming. It feels very smooth, which contrasts the stop-and-go traffic style of Spyro 1's platforming. Movement is much more fluent now, and the rest of the game benefits as a result of this. As we continue through level 1, we see more improvements. Now, we have dialogue. Each level has a small backstory, making each level unique and much more memorable than before. In the later levels, we even get little in-game intros and outros to each level, which really gives Spyro 2 a strong sense of depth that seems absent from Spyro 1 and 3. What I always loved in Spyro 2 is that there isn't just a stock enemy that's seen throughout all the game. There are instead many different types of NPCs that are seen throughout the different levels. These NPCs give Spyro 2's levels more life, and they also help in connecting the levels together, despite how aesthetically different they can be. A good example of this are in the levels Breeze Harbor and Zephyr, where your allies in one level become the enemies in another. It's just that little extra attention to detail that really makes Spyro 2 shine. As nice as the dialogue is, it can be a tad bit irritating. Sometimes, not all the time. This is really only a problem with the first couple of levels, but tutorials can be annoying. It's not like the tutorials are optional, like you can just run up to them and they say press triangle to hear a hint or anything. They will just stop you short and start giving away tutorials. This isn't too big of a problem, as you can skip these pretty quickly, but in areas where you're just trying to charge through, it can be quite bothersome. It breaks up the action and ruins the otherwise fluent feel of the game. Like, look here, I just opened a bridge, I'm gonna run up to that lizard, and tutorials.
I'm not happy, Bob. Not happy.
He got away.
When it's not breaking up the action, it can add a lot to the game, although it can also get a bit bizarre.
Well done! Have this! If you stare at it long enough, you might not see anything. I thought the Yeti was tougher than that. I guess he was all bark.
Thank you for releasing me.
The levels this time around have much more content and much more to do in them, as there are many more collectibles. Gems make a return, and they are found scattered across the ground. Gems also play a much more important role than before. You don't collect gems just for the sake of collecting them, but you instead collect them to progress through the game. Spyro 2 introduces a character named Moneybags, who will help you by opening paths in the level and granting you new abilities, but only for a small fee.
A small fee. A small fee? A small fee.
Now, gems have an actual use. Picking up gems feels much more satisfying now, as it is much more rewarding. As you progress through the game, you unlock new abilities for Spyro, such as the ability to swim, climb, and do a head bash. If we're going to talk about swimming, then let me proudly state that Spyro 2 hits dead center with the swimming controls. Water controls is something that many games struggle with, but Spyro 2's swimming controls are fantastic. Again, just like on land, I have never attributed any of my deaths to poor control. It's just fucking perfect, really. Gems are no longer dropped by enemies like in Spyro 1, and this is fucking great. You can finally calm down, you don't need to worry about killing enemies. However, killing enemies will still yield a reward. Enemies will instead drop shiny things, which can be used to unlock power-up gates. Power-up gates will give you a power-up for a limited amount of time. These can be immunity to lava, a more powerful flame attack, the ability to fly, or even supercharge.
Supercharge?
Of course, with the gems comes the lovely scenario of having to search an entire level for gems only to find the obscure red gem hiding in the middle of nowhere. But believe it or not, Spyro 2 actually found a solution. By holding down all 4 of the shoulder buttons, you can activate the gem finder. When holding down these buttons, sparks will point in the direction of the nearest gem, and holy crap, that is useful. The gem finder is a lifesaver, and it is simply genius. Just like in Spyro 1, the levels are located in the homeworlds. This time around, homeworlds are much larger than before. Even though there aren't as many homeworlds, or levels for that matter, they have much more variety. Something you'll notice right off the bat is that each of the 3 homeworlds is accompanied by soothing ambient music. The peaceful music gives the homeworlds a strong sense of atmosphere. I feel like I can honestly just run around in the homeworlds for hours, being put into a daze by the fantastic music. If we are going to talk about music, however, I would unfortunately have to say that Spyro 2's soundtrack is the weakest of the original trilogy. It is a bit weird of me to say this, since my intro music actually comes from this game. My intro music is Sunny Beach from this game, which I'm going to play over the next part because it's just so fucking awesome. Spyro 1's music was distinct, recognizable, and memorable. Spyro 3's music was upbeat, badass, and equally memorable. Spyro 2 has plenty of great music as well, like the homeworld themes. As awesome as Spyro 2's music can be, some of it can be pretty bizarre too. This game's music even annoyed me on a few occasions. The most prominent examples of this would probably be in the levels Colossus and Canyon Speedway. Keep in mind, however, that being second place to Spyro 1 and 3 is not bad, at all. Remember, these are Spyro standards we're talking about. If you want to hear a truly bad soundtrack, go listen to Crash Twinsanity's music. The Talismans, another collectible, are unique artifacts exclusive to the first 14 worlds of the game. The Talismans are used to open up the portals between the different worlds, because the plot says so. The Talisman challenges are straightforward and simple. Reach the end of the level, boom, go to the next one. But the levels don't end right after you get the Talisman, because we also got orbs. Orbs are the main collectible of this game. You get orbs for completing missions within the levels, and these missions can vary greatly. Some orbs may involve you solving puzzles, as others may involve you flying around and hitting targets. These orb challenges are what make each level unique, and there are a ton. Pretty much all of the orbs are fun. with a few exceptions. Some of the orbs can be pretty stupid, like the hockey minigame or having to escort the alchemist, or... really, that's pretty much it for the bad orb challenges in Spyro 2. The orbs present plenty of variety that was missing in Spyro 1, and they also help give this game a sense of challenge and difficulty. That is another thing Spyro 2 fixed. Spyro 2 is very challenging, but also reasonable. Some games like Spyro 1 are too afraid to challenge you, and as a result become too easy. The reverse can also happen in games like Spyro 3, where it becomes too ambitious in its difficulty, and it becomes unjustified in the case of all the stupid vehicles and minigames. Spyro 2, however, is spot on. I have never felt that any of the orb missions were unfair, with the exception of those two I mentioned before. Spyro 2's challenge can also be seen in some of the returning features from Spyro 1, such as the flights. The flights, now called speedways, saw a significant improvement as well. They follow the same premise from before: complete all the tasks in a level, get the gems and leave. But now, you have an unlimited supercharge, and there are also secret orb challenges, which are so much fun, and give the speedways tons of depth, just like the rest of the game. The bosses also return, and goddamn did they improve. Spyro 1's bosses were bland, boring, and forgettable, but Spyro 2's bosses, they are my favorite in all of 3D platforming. Bosses now take place on these arenas, and instead of fighting random enemies, you instead fight each of the game's main antagonists. The bosses are Crush, Gulp, and Ripto. Each boss is memorable and does a good job of spiking the difficulty up, preparing you for the next homeworld. Oh, and Ripto's Arena. Good God, Ripto's Arena. Ripto is my favorite final boss in any video game, period. The concept is so original and unique, and for shit's sake, just shut up and fucking buy this game already. It is genius. While Spyro the Dragon might have been my favorite of the original trilogy, Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage, is by far the best. This game stood proudly over Spyro 1 and saw improvements in practically every square inch of the game. Better controls, more collectibles, better graphics, more interesting levels.
Classic everything!
Now to answer the age-old question, does Spyro 2 hold up?
You're goddamn right.
Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next week when I review Spyro 3.